Hey guys, all right, welcome back. We are on, I think, part 3 of my college experience and all things my second semester, starting placement and all of that, balancing, juggling, all of the things while being a mom, while being in a career that we're starting to actually figure out. Okay, second semester. So we have started college. We are in the second semester. This is right after Christmas break, basically. And we are part online, part in placement, in person. I need to clarify that. So another thing I did not include in the first semester video is we had to get so many things done before placement. So we had to get a vulnerable sectors check from the police station, which we had to pay out of pocket for. We had to get a TB skin test done, which we also had to pay out of pocket for. And first aid and CPR training, again, out of pocket expense. So all of that was honestly like close to $500, I think, for all the certifications. And then we had to do a lot of trainings like WMIS and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it was only like $300 for all the other stuff. I don't know. Health and safety was kind of expensive. Not health and safety. First aid training was kind of expensive, and it was like a whole weekend that I had to find childcare for. So that was kind of annoying. But with that being said, so that fell into the first semester, and we had to get all that submitted before the Christmas break and before our final exams for that semester to go into second semester. And if you did not have that stuff, then you couldn't go to placement because they needed all these qualifications along with having the special vid. Yeah, I did not want to get that, but the special vid vaccine. And that was a huge fight for me. Like, I tried to put it off as long as possible, and I was like, do I have to get it? And they were like, if you want to finish school, you have no choice but to get the vaccine. So we also had to make sure that we had the chickenpox vaccine if you do not have chickenpox growing up, which I did. So I had to get blood work to prove that I had the antibodies in my body already. So not only was the career kind of a surprise for all these requirements, but I honestly didn't even think about that prior. Like, I knew about vulnerable sectors check, I knew about CPR and first aid training for early childhood educators, but I didn't quite realize that they also had to have like special vaccines and skin tests done and all these other things. So yeah, so I don't know, something to keep in mind, a little tidbit if you don't like needles per se, or you don't have extra money to invest. Luckily I had OSAP, so technically the money I was supposed to be living off of, I had to invest in my career. Vulnerable sector check costed like $80. First aid and CPR training, I think that costed like $180 or something like that. And then skin test and TB, I should say, TB skin test, that also costed $50. If I remember those correctly. So second semester, also previously to this, we had to pick three or five different options, and they were all childcare based, childcare being daycare. I try to switch the language because I feel like daycare feels like less value compared to childcare. So anyways, we chose between 3 and 5 different childcare centers in the area, out of the area, basically whatever ones you wanted to go to. But your children couldn't go there, you couldn't have known anybody there. And for me, I personally chose one that was like 15-20 minutes away from me, and conveniently a family friend. Like, we knew the owner that way, but like I personally did not know them, so it was completely fine. And that experience at that childcare center was eye-opening, wild, confusing, fucked up, and definitely put my perspective on a few things. It was also a huge learning experience as well. So I was in a preschool classroom. I was at a Christian daycare. I don't really know how Christian it really was. We did like a prayer before eating, and that was that. It was a lot of growth for me. I don't really like childcare centers for me personally to work in. Yes, I have done it in school and outside of school, but it just was never for me. Hence why I have my dream job now within the school board, working with kindergarten kids. But I was in a preschool classroom, so I did all my assignments and they went as planned. My mentor wasn't as fantastic as I would have hoped for my next 2 placements. They were incredible, which is honestly kind of amazing that that worked out that way. And that sounds fucked up to say, but having a mentor in your placements that has to like grade you and challenge you, and you're kind of like, honestly, your success in graduating and finishing that semester is relying on them. Don't forget that we also had lots of assignments to do in placement, and forms to submit and all that bullshit. And then we also had classes on top of this. So there was a lot going on, 3 days a week for 8 hours a day, 7.5 if you're in a kindergarten classroom. And then if you're with before and after school program, it's only 6 hours a day. We couldn't do any of that until second and third placements. Everyone had to be in childcare center the first placement. So, but we could choose what classroom. So you could be an infant, you could be in toddler, you can be in preschool. It's completely up to the center, what they have available, and because to be a mentor, it's not a paid position. So like you have to take time of your own day and volunteer. That's the word I'm looking for. Volunteer to be a mentor to a college student. So anyways, my mentor, she personally didn't have her own kids. So I feel like this is completely my perspective and my opinion. If you do have children, you want a mentor that has children of their own. And obviously you don't know going into it, but there is a huge understanding over someone that understands you have kids. Even the single mom aspect is even more amazing, or they just have that like respect for you. Compared to someone that does not have kids and they just like go home after work and eat dinner and they go about their day, compared to myself. So that first placement, I had to leave early one day, like spontaneously throughout the day. Like Leslie was at home sick. It was a PA day and my dad was here, but she ended up being like sick and all that. So I had to leave, and she was not very respectful of that at all. Yes, I could make up the days, but she was not respectful. I had to miss 2 days, one due to weather. It was it was a snow day for normal school boards, but the childcare center was open. No one communicated that with me. It was kind of a hot mess, but I was very disrespected for A, not going in, B, not calling. Meanwhile, I thought the childcare center was closed. Maybe I should have called to like make sure, but my school always says if the school is closed, then do not go to placement. So I went off of that. I don't know. I think I could like justify that being like my fault that I did not call that, blah, blah, blah. But I also had no childcare for Leslie that day, for whatever reason, but it was a snow day for her. So I was at home. So I had to make up that day as well. I feel like I'm bashing her a lot, which is not respectful, but I'm just explaining my situation, how I felt like I had a lot of anxiety walking into placement every single day. Was there good moments? Yes, absolutely. But it was also adjustment for me. There was days that I literally went to the bathroom and cried because I missed Leslie, and I had a huge amount of mom guilt because I was there until 5 o'clock, which means I didn't get home till 5:30. And yes, I was able to drop Leslie off at school, but like for 2.5 hours after she was done school, she was with my dad and I was at working, aka at placement. So it was also an adjustment to, hey, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. Like that sounds terrible for me personally. I would rather work the school board hours, which is a lot better and way more convenient. It's a half an hour before Leslie goes to school and half an hour afterwards, which I can handle that. It's when it's like 2 hours after she's done school that I'm like, that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for Leslie's love language, which is quality time, and me personally, how I feel. Being a mother comes first, and I said that before this career, I said this during this experience, I said this afterwards, is that for me, being a mom comes first. I don't care whether I'm working, I don't care what's happening in my life. Like I have left dates early, I have left situations early just because I wasn't safe, and my safety comes along with me being a mother first, because if I put my safety at jeopardy, then I can't be a mom, God forbid something happens, right? So, in that sense, when Leslie called me sick, I was leaving placement. I did not care what the repercussions were, which obviously was not a respected thing in that matter. The center, I don't think was that bad per se. There was just like people and things that I didn't particularly love. This was also right when COVID was ending. So we still had to wear PPE, and parents couldn't come into the center to drop their kids off, so we were doing a little bit extra work. By the end they could, because like a lot of restrictions got lifted, but this is also during the convoy when a lot of people were going down to Ottawa, and I stand with the convoy, which is another, I try not to get too political and I try not to get into things too much, but I do stand with the convoy, and the people I worked with were very close-minded. They didn't understand that. They didn't also understand being inclusive to families, different types of family structures, things that we're supposed to be teaching. So for me personally, that was a really shitty situation, and I was there for 8 weeks, 3 days, 8 weeks, 3 days a week. So it was a really shitty experience. But the other 2 days, let's get into that. The other 2 days which was Monday, Tuesday, I was online. So I was at home and I was getting my work done here. And I was really stressed out with placement the first time around. I was also extremely exhausted, but this is also when I incorporated working out into my schedule, into my life, because at the time there, to not get too personal, but I was at the heaviest weight I was, which was 133 pounds, I believe it was at my heaviest. And keep in mind, I finished my pregnancy at like 133, 135, I believe. So, and I'm only 4'11", so weight comes on me really, really heavy. So I started working out, which also really did help my mental state during my motivation to go to placement, because I didn't want to go. I had a terrible experience. And I feel like, I don't know how I'm going to edit this, just because there's a lot of bashing, but my whole first placement was there good experiences? Yes. But for the most part, it was terrible. And a lot of things came into perspective, but my mental state wasn't that great until I started working out, and I had to really like dig deep into, okay, we're going to go to placement, we're going to get our assignments done, you know your value, you know how good you are as an educator, you know all these things, so you are confident, you are capable, you are amazing. Just get through it, get done. Your next placement will be in a kindergarten classroom. It's going to be amazing. It's all going to work out. So I want to get that point across, but like, I don't know. I don't want to be negative, but I don't have a lot of great things to say either about that experience. I did think my assignments were great. She tried to nitpick a few things on one of them, but I was like, nope, I'm confident, I got this, I know what I'm doing. And she did end up saying sorry and was like, wow, you actually did a great job. So there's that. So school-wise, oh yeah, mental state. So I was working out, which helped me lose weight, and I got more in a positive state. And then keep in mind, over a year I lost like 13 pounds. Like over a year and a bit I lost 13 pounds. Very healthy and healthy now, confident as ever. And that continued throughout my other placements, but also gave me a lot of energy to go into the next placement. So anyways, schooling wise, it was hard, it was complicated, but being online, being at home those 2 days at the beginning of the week before placement started was a really good like mental balance for me, along with picking and dropping off Leslie on those days, which was just so great. And then a lot of time, so I said in the first part 1 video of how I chose my career, is that I truly tried to set a boundary that I wasn't going to be working on my schoolwork after like I pick up Leslie from school or on weekends, but more in semester 2, 3, and 4, I worked Sunday afternoons or after Leslie went to bed on assignments, because there were so many things and it was really overwhelming. I had a few classes that there was just like one big midterm and one exam, no test throughout. I had some that did smaller assignments, but another big midterm, and then the exam wasn't as big, or like one or the other. I had a lot of, my classes started to touch more into kindergarten, but it was a lot of like childcare based, a lot of development stuff, and a lot of like group projects that were all virtual. That's how me and my friends also got so close, is because we started doing all of our assignments together, which was great, which also happened on Sunday afternoons when we weren't at placement and we weren't working, because they were also working on top of placement on top of school, which was a lot. And instead of me working, I was raising a child when they were at work. So like we were all working on top of, I think, to a degree, I should say. Hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but like being a mom is a job, so you know. Second semester was a journey. It was also during winter, and I don't think that's like a huge impact, but it was also like seasonal depression along with a shitty experience along with the balancing act. So anyways, second semester went January until April, and then I had 2 months off for summer. So let's bring you up to third semester, and then the next video we'll talk about third semester, fourth semester, and wrap it up, and then we'll get into well, I don't know, we'll do another video talking about like placement, things to expect, questions to ask, all that jazz. And I think that will be a really helpful video going into direct things into placement rather than just like my experience, surface level things going into like assignments and stuff. Because assignments were really just like small group, large group, diapering, that kind of thing. That wasn't even an assignment. That was just like something we had to do. We had to take over a task that would be like lunch, learning like different things in the classroom, like things that we learned that were like requirements, like cleaning the bathroom, asking questions to kids, going outside, inquiring things, spontaneous activity, all that stuff, which was completely different. Spontaneous I had to do for my first 2 placements. I had 3. So the first 2 I had to do spontaneous for, and each mentor had a different vision for what spontaneous meant, which we can go into, because first placement spontaneous meant I had to tell her when I was having a spontaneous thing. Create a second semester, I would just type out like, so spontaneously me and this child talked about blah 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 blah, and I asked these questions, the child responded this way, we inquired about this, and then for my next activity I was going to take this conversation and add to this type of thing. And first placement, she wanted me to be like, hey, I'm having a spontaneous moment over here, which to me personally, I felt like that took away from the spontaneous moment, because I had to like call her over to like listen to the conversation to a degree. But anyways, the one thing she did say about me is that it was like the first week of placement, I conducted a like large group circle time, and she was like, it's very like odd and like random, because most people in their first placement don't do that. They don't have enough confidence to do that, and I did. That being said, second semester was kind of just like a blur, and survival mode to the max. I did learn a lot, but it was a lot of balancing, and third semester and fourth semester is truly where I got like a grasp on things. Having the summer off from April to the beginning of September between semesters was actually terrible for me. Me and my friends from college, we went out for brunch, and we would talk and text and all that stuff quite a bit. And I was one time after we went out for brunch, we like went back to my friend's house and we hung out. And I was telling them, I was like, guys, I think I'm going to drop out. I was like, this is too much on me. I'm too exhausted. Like, I'm too stressed. I had a terrible first placement experience. What if this happens again? And honestly, if it wasn't for them being like, no, bitch, we're doing this together. We're picking our classes together. Like, we got this. Don't worry. It's going to be a better experience next time. I definitely would have dropped out, if I'm being honest. And I don't mean that in like, I wasn't going to achieve my goal. I was just defeated. I was just like, there's been too much time off where like, I'm just enjoying this. So we went into third semester. Clearly we graduated in fourth semester, and yeah, second was a huge mental thing for me, and I feel like that's where the growth was. I talk about quite a bit. I talk about when I lost a lot of weight and I was really going through it, and I was in a terrible placement, but I had to like really just power through, push through. And I think that really brought me into challenging days into my career and things I do and don't like that like I have control over now that I didn't before. Another thing that was continuous through all my placements I'll talk about in this video was, it's not your classroom. And this was advice that I gave to my friends, and it really kind of helped them. on those hard days is that it's not your classroom, it's not your class, it's not somewhere that you particularly chose to stay there for a job. So you just kind of have to like hunker down and get through it, as much as it can be hard and much as it sucks. Now you know, out of the bad experience that you had, now you know I don't want to include this in my classroom. I don't want to experience this. I know I have to look out for this. So it was a learning experience. Yes, it was shitty. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's annoying. Yes, there's like all this shit. But you grow from it. You take notes and you learn the do's and don'ts for in the future. And I think that's just a part of like life and lessons. But having placement to show you that was something that was truly amazing. My assignments were well. I obviously finished that placement with flying colors, and I did great. And it definitely channeled a little bit of my confidence at the end there, when I was like, shit, I am good, shit, I am doing it. And it was just my experience with the adults in the building compared to the children, because the children were great. We're gonna wrap this up in my cozy bedroom, and hopefully I'll have a vlog next, and then we'll do semester 3 and 4. What is happening here? Oh boy. Okay, I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.